The highest date is B. When your behavior matches your intent, that matches your values, then you B. Fleet Feet is B.
I think we both decided for different reasons, but unbeknownst to one another, that teaching really wasn't our thing.
One day I said, why don't we start a business? We both love sports and we both love shoes. Let's start a shoe business.
We were young, not supposed to be successful. We were women not supposed to be successful in that field at all.
That's the DNA of Fleet Feet, is started by two women, downtown Sacramento, in the poorest neighborhood there was, in a beat-up Victorian that we bought for $22,000. And we didn't have $22,000. I think we had I think we started the whole company on $2,000. And the $2,000 was the down payment on the building, and then we leveraged and leveraged and leveraged, and everything was done on bank loans because we were 28 years old. We didn't have any money. I mean, I remember the first day we opened, June 1st, 1976, and we didn't know bookkeeping or inventory management or daily operations. We didn't have any credit, but we bought $20,000 worth of shoes.
And we started that business with just one line of shoes.
We sold shoes for $20 a pair. If we sold 5 a day, we had a good day, we had $100. And if you had $100, then we could hit our break-even point. And then it got to where we could sell 8 pairs of shoes a day, and 10 and 12. And then more companies came to us and said, oh, we want to sell our brands.
We decided that we should probably open a second store.
Ingredients at that time was a college town, which was educated, a distance away so we didn't impact our customer base, something we could start on a shoestring because that's how we had started everything to date.
And we did find a similar situation in Chico. And then people started coming to us, and the question at that point became, do we open another company store? Or are we spreading ourselves a little too thin? Certainly the other option was franchises.
Fleet Feet is a wonderful product. It's community-oriented, it's based in people owning their own businesses.
We turned people away if it just meant a financial investment to them. That's not what we wanted.
And I'll never forget Will Roxburgh when he came through the door. He was 21, 22 years old.
I remember it like it was yesterday. We chatted for a couple hours in the basement of the original Fleet Feet in the Victorian. About a month later, it was April 1st, 1984, I was handed over the keys to the Fair Oak store, which had been open for a little bit less than a year, and I was off and running. And I loved it from the day one.
One day I get a letter in the mail, and the letter said, I want to buy a Fleet Feet franchise. Our names are Jan and Phil Finty. And I kind of laughed and I said, you're 3,000 miles away. We don't have a store that's more than 300 miles away, nevertheless 3,000 miles away. Do you know this is a big risk for you to buy this franchise? And Phil said, I want to be in my community, I want to work in my store, and I want to get people fit. Will you sell me a franchise? And I said, well, do you have any money? He said, we're going to borrow, get a second deed of trust against our home. And I said, well, then if the business doesn't work, you're going to lose your home. And he said, yes, Sally, we're going to make this business work. And they bought that franchise in 1984.
The store became the community store. We were people who they saw at the races, sweating and working out just like the customers were. So I think those kind of things really drove our business forward.
One of the things Fleet Feet did is we started a lot of things in Sacramento. So we started the first marathon, we started the first fun runs, we started the first triathlons.
One of the marketing strategies Fleet Feet was using at the time was to host events, and Sally was instrumental in that in the Sacramento area. We changed the way people looked at producing events, that it should be something fun.
I really believe that the things Sally and Elizabeth were able to accomplish were built on changing the paradigm of how specialty retail operated and the customers it was trying to reach, and creating a broad base for people to participate, not just a platform for elite athletes.
We never started off as an elite running store because that's not who we were.
So people felt that it was for everybody.
There were other things that I wanted to do with my life. I'll always be proud of it, and it'll always be a huge part of my life.
You know, I ran Fleet Feet for 17 years. It's a long run. And I said, I think that I want to do these other things.
When I took over at Fleet Feet in 1993, clearly the landscape of retail was changing.
Tom could see the way that it was going to be, not the way that it was.
The reality is that running specialty had a great future. It's not going to be this exclusive club, but this inclusive community.
Women became a much bigger part of that. Apparel became a little bit more important and making it more accessible to women.
It became vital that developing this new business model was important. Women didn't really want to go in and try on clothes in a dressing room with no mirror, no light, and a shower curtain for the door. They didn't want to do that. I felt like by 2000 we had put down a good foundation for the company. We had put down a good foundation of growth. We were financially solid, and that it was important to take the company to the next level.
The first time I met Tom Rayner, I remember it like it was yesterday. We were running, and this guy shows up and jumps in to work out. Looked a little bit like Charles Manson. We had no idea who he was.
I would have been 36 at the time. Jeff was a sophomore in college.
And he runs with us for a little while, and then he gaps us by like 10 meters. And we're all looking around at each other going like, who is this guy? So we chased him down, spit him out the back.
I was not in as good a shape as I thought I was.
He went out the door of the field house. We thought we'd never see him again. And then he pretty much showed up at every workout for the next 2.5 years, and we became great friends. When Tom had bought Fleet Feet in '93, I was living in Seattle working for Brooks, and we were in communication a lot. I would fly down to Sacramento, or he would fly up to Seattle 2 or 3 times a year. And I think we always thought that at some point our business worlds would intersect again, and I think the timing was just right in 2001 when I left Brooks, and we started talking about what we could do together and possibilities, and one thing led to another thing, and I joined the company.
Jeff brought a tremendous amount of experience from the vendor side relative to specialty running, and I brought experience and strengths from the retail side along with the franchisees. So that was really the genesis of it, and we decided to start growing. You know, the interesting thing from that point in time was I didn't have to worry about any of the things that I wasn't good at, which were management and motivation, because Jeff was much better at both those things than I was. And so then I could do what I do, which is draw business plans on the back of napkins and think about what the future looks like.
I definitely would not be sitting here in this chair today if it wasn't for Tom Rayner. And as you meet people in the franchise network, they would tell you the same thing. The first major project I worked on was creating this unique vendor partnership program.
Not only did the stores not know how, in some cases, to deal with the vendors really didn't know how to deal with running specialty.
We had this idea about how we could change the way specialty retailers worked with the vendor community.
My real contribution to the process was getting people to talk to other people. Not just people that were retailers, but people that were retailers talking to vendors and figuring out what the business model was. And I'm really proud of the direction that we went in that case and the relationships we built and continue to build.
The vendor partnership program has evolved over the years in many ways. One is, while we still, for our Essentials brand, still have people here who are on the Fleet Feet team, on the footwear side, we've begun to partner brand personnel to our internal team. So the internal Inc. team provides support to an external brand manager that's provided by the brands.
It's not so much the vendor and the retailer, it's the family.
Jeff asked that I would start to pull together like some ideas on how we could go through a fitting process that would be a little unique and different. So I spent about 2 to 3 months on the road, just really observing.
You know, you talk to some retailers and they may come across like they've been in it for years and they know it all and they know how they're doing, and Fleet Feet was open. They were open to change and open to doing things different, and so it gave us the opportunity to teach them a different approach. It's not just throw a shoe on, tie it, and then buy it. It's, wait a minute, take your socks off, stand up, I want to look at your foot, I want to measure your feet, we want to get you in the right socks. So we help them create a system.
And what we found, with more knowledge and more consistency, now we were selling socks and inserts, and we began to sell more of the store.
We put a lot of time and a lot of energy into this, and it took years to really get this up and going and develop a pretty good level of consistency across the entire brand. It was absolutely worth it because our fit process is the defining moment for connecting with our brand for so many people.
It's about putting people before profit.
When we moved to this position of inclusiveness and belonging, it just opened us up to a whole world of customers that prior to that time, probably having Fleet Feet above the door, said not for me. And that really allowed us to grow at a much faster rate than the rest of the industry.
The type of customer coming in changed. Over time, the body type changed, the attitude changed. It didn't necessarily be like, I need to win. I just want to finish. I want to get to the starting line first, and then I actually just want to finish.
We created a running program for beginners. It was called No Boundaries, and it was really designed to take someone that was completely sedentary from couch potato to walk to run and finish a 5K over about a 12-week period. The majority of participants in the early No Boundaries programs were women.
We became relevant to a much larger and different types of people.
The success was still rooted in philosophies that were already in place before I got here. Tom had decided that he wasn't going to have any absentee or investor owners. And that's not a fast growth strategy, but man, it's a strategy that has served this brand really well because all the owners are required to work in the business on a day-to-day basis, be involved in operations, being involved with the staff, be involved with the community. If there's any magic dust in what we do, that's it.
We help to give our franchise owners a business platform to really serve their community, and it's really rewarding to kind of hear all the great and cool stories of how the 160 stores are just reaching out and touching the individual lives of their own running communities.
We've been able to just find some amazing people to join Fleet Feet and join the system. We were very fortunate in finding what I consider the absolute perfect partner for Fleet Feet in IMC. IMC only invests in companies that they believe are, one, good businesses, but that they intend to own for the long term. And that's what we were looking for, because we wanted to have stability with our leadership team, and we wanted to make sure we had stability with the franchise organization and the franchise owners. And partnering with IMC gave us an opportunity to do that.
We have a unique product with unique need that the customer has that we can deliver. The brand they buy is the Fleet Feet brand, and the people are the brand.
That's part of the joy of Fleet Feet is you go and work, but you're still also in like a running shop. You're around runners and you're around like the sport.
I see a lot of retailers cutting back on service. Well, Fleet Feet has gone the other way. They have raised their service level in a time in retail where everybody else is cutting back on service.
We are a place where runners connect. We're a place that helps runners. We're a place that helps people that want to live a healthy, active lifestyle.
Even today, I will see a shirt from an event and I see Fleet Feet Sports on the back and I think, wow, that's still happening. It feels to me like you can walk into a Fleet Feet store right now and gain the same experience as you would have been able to do when we opened the doors. And that just makes me very proud.
So I am a little teary right now. I was 20, I really love Fleet Feet. I was 28 years old. I'm 68, so 4 decades have gone by and other people have run the company longer, and I wish them the best always, but what I think I like the most about Fleet Feet is it's really stayed true to its values. It has maintained what Elizabeth Jansen and I started, and I respect that. That's tough to do, and Fleet Feet did the tough stuff.
Pleasure without pain, love without heartbreak, perspective, reflection same. When we were young, forever seemed the longest time. To our naive tongues and the trust in